Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about interview preps. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how do you proceed with your interview preparations if some of the hard LeetCode problems demotivate you, especially if you can't solve them after spending several hours on them? Well, so what I usually tell people is that this is your problem right there. This is the whole problem. Your focus is that your thinking seems to be that you're trying to master LeetCode problems so that you can pass the interview, and this is the problem. Why are you doing that? Why are you? What is the purpose of doing LeetCode? Well, the purpose of doing LeetCode is so that, well, it seems for your sake, it seems so that you will be better at interview questions. When the purpose of doing it for real, the thing that is going to make you a quality software developer, is so that you learn how you can solve different types of problems. Would it shock you if I said that I've never done in my entire career anything even remotely close to interview prep? Never. Not even once. And I've been working for a few years now, had quite a few jobs, had personal interviews, and made it through interviewing processes for some of the largest IT companies in the world without any interviewing prep. And the reason is because my focus is not to learn how to solve an algorithm. My focus is to learn how to program well. And some things that LeetCode will teach you, or these sorts of more algorithmic problems, are very relevant in order to be a better software developer. Some of them are absolutely. I mean, I've done a few LeetCode. I was actually very cool. I thought it was pretty cool. But honestly, full disclosure, my implementation of some of those things, I think I have an account still. It's been a few while since I used LeetCode, but some of because I wrote mine in TypeScript, and I think that's just that not that many people who do TypeScript write solutions, because I had 100%, like what it was said, 100% better than all the other solutions in TypeScript. So I don't think it's like all languages, but in TypeScript I was like, yeah. That felt pretty good, I have to say. I wonder if it would have been the same if it was like in C or Java or some one of these classical languages where all the nerds are, all the cool computer science nerds are using. Python probably, and C and C++ and things like that. Anywho, but the thing I want you to understand is that the reason why I was doing these sorts of code challenges is because I figured that I'm actually not that good at these more complicated computer sciencey type of problems. That format doesn't really speak to me so well. I'm usually much better with these sort of organic problems where they ask me, can you build a system that fixes this problem? Can you fix this problem, etc., etc. And then I sort of just go, yeah, I could probably do that. I'll do it this way, and so forth and so forth. That's a better format for me. But because I want to be good as much as a well-rounded type of software developer, because sometimes I have had at work problems that have been purely algorithmic problems where it's really down to writing a good algorithm. An example would have been at an old job I had. Our job was to, on a very large set of data, it's just an array of records, to figure out if a sequence of transactions is a subscription. Yes or no? Is this because it's basically a grouping problem. Can you group all of these data points in a way and segment them and say this is a subscription and it's labeled, and then move it to the next step of the processing where it's going to be labeled as a subscription for mobile phone subscription, or Spotify or Netflix or whatever you have, right? This is a pure computer science problem. and there is no like webby thing about it. It's really down to basic computer science in essence, and that was very tricky for not just for me. It was still, I mean, we came up with a solution that's worked pretty well, but it's still like not a problem that was, I mean, most of the developers we had kind of choked on that problem. I think we got the accuracy up to something silly like 80% or something like that, where that is like way too low. I think at one point we had this super genius computer science nerd who got it up to like they claim that they got it up to like 90%, 98% for accuracy or something like that. I don't believe that. But anywho, that was something that I identified as a weakness in myself. And so I started doing these sorts of exercises for fun, because it was fun to see if I could solve the problem. Now, I am at this point in my career an experienced software developer, so I don't have this anxiety to prove myself. As a junior software developer, it's a different sort of thing, because you think that just because you can't solve LeetCode problems, you're dumb. That's not the case. It's just that you think that solving LeetCode problems is the goal. That this is the thing that makes you a good software developer, and this is stupid, guys. That guy I was talking about, he was a complete shit software developer. I swear, he was. He was hired to solve a very specific hard problem, that specific hard problem, but he couldn't write this. I mean, shit, we had to teach him how to use Git. And that's how he wanted to roll, and it's fine, like to each person his own, right, or her own, whoever. But I want you to understand that it's better for you to think about these sorts of LeetCode challenges and so forth as a learning opportunity. And when you think about it as just a way for you to learn, sort of like exercise. Do you feel self-conscious when you go for a run, or like that, I don't know, you're not a very good runner or so forth? I mean, maybe you do, but then maybe you should go for a walk. Have you felt self-conscious about the way you walk in order to stay healthy? No. Probably not. It's something you do because it feels nice and it's going to make you healthier. And if you approach LeetCode problems the same way, and if you can't solve it, then go and check the solutions and see if you can see the solutions and understand, okay, that's how it works. And if it turns out that even after checking the solution you still don't understand it, okay, cool. Then just tell yourself this: you know what? This is too hard for me right now. Let's take something that is simpler, and then repeat. And you do that until many years later you come back and you realize that, shit, this wasn't so hard. Or maybe it just stays impossible to understand for the rest of your life. Who knows? But it's the same process. And the answer is the answer to this problem is actually very simple. You continue learning and stay motivated to learn in order to be a better version of yourself. And maybe later on you're actually going to learn enough to be able to go back and solve that problem. Or maybe it's a problem that is just beyond you for the rest of your life. But you're never going to know that if you stop trying. So what I want you to take away from this is that the way that I stay motivated, or that I proceed with interview prep, is that I don't do interview prep. Never have, probably never will. I never needed it. I've done the interviews for some of the companies that people buy books for and so forth, and I actually did pass. There was one, actually I did fail at one of the companies here in Sweden, and that was not because I didn't pass the technical interview. It was because there was a logic test with little dots. I clicked them and failed, but all the coding was correct, and that didn't really matter all that much to me, because I've reached a point where I just don't care anymore, because I know, based on years of working, that I can produce high quality systems. I know how to lead teams. I can produce basically anything that a software company could possibly want in terms of like normal size level type of work. There are absolutely things that I am not very good at, but when you get to that point, or rather you get to that point after you realize that the goal is not to look at this challenge as the end thing. It's just a test that a company came up with in order to check whether or not you know how to code. The goal is to be able to code, to solve the problem. And that's why interview prepping can be a little bit detrimental to you, because you're basically just trying, it's almost like taking steroids, like you're trying to prepare for a specific event so that you pass that event and then you think you're done. No. You might pass that event and get fired the day after because you just prepared, and you, luckily for you, you got the exact, like everything aligned, and you got the right preparation and the right problem, and then by luck you got in, and then you suck at the job and you get fired because that is not your job. Your job is to do other stuff than lead code. So that's why I tell you, use these sorts of lead coding, like these challenges, as a way to just get better at coding. And it doesn't matter if you cheat until to your heart's desire. If you try for several hours, you can't solve it, go and cheat. I do it all the time because there are people who are smarter than me, and then I go and check their code and I go, yeah, that was actually much better than my thing. Or in some cases, it's very rare, I go, actually that's actually not as good as this thing that I was thinking about. Let's try my thing and see if I can make that work. And then you think you're smart, and it turns out that no, actually they actually thought about that, so it didn't work anyway. And you do that so that you can fail and iterate and grow as a person and grow as a software developer, so that you don't have to prepare for things in this weird way. Because the idea that you have to prep for a coding interview is only true if you don't actually have the necessary skills to do the job. You can prepare, absolutely, go for it. But I urge you to stop trying to treat lead code and these sorts of challenges as some type of measurement whether or not you know how to be a software developer or not. Look at them as ways to improve your skill set, and that's all they are. Because I promise you, at the end of the day, if you pass an interview through lead coding challenges, you're going to find that once you're inside, all the other stuff, that's the thing that you're going to be doing. And so if the only thing you're good at is lead code or these sorts of challenges, well, then maybe you can be that guy that we hire for that one problem, and then we get rid of you because we can't use you for anything else. Have a great day.